All right, welcome back to another episode of StichMethod. Today we are going to decode John Mayer's May 7th, 2020 Instagram guitar lesson. I had some people ask like, hey, what does he mean when he says this and what does he mean when he says that? And I watched the whole thing, and to be honest, there are some points that I think that I could help explain what he's talking about. Now, I can't play like John Mayer. He is awesome, and he can play really, really well, and his rhythm and his phrasing, his speed is fantastic. What I can do for you is explain what he means in terms of how to see it on the guitar so that you can kind of incorporate those ideas. So I'm going to do like a timestamp by timestamp kind of like analysis, tell you where he is, and kind of explain. Now, a lot of the stuff that he is doing and talking about can be found on my Blues Primer playlist, my Pentatonic Mastery playlist, and also my Blues Masterclasses, and I'll show you. Also, as I describe what's going on, little cards should pop up right around like here or something with relative videos to what I'm talking about. So with that being said, let's get started, all right? At around, let me see really quickly when I have this phone here, right around the 2-minute mark, he is talking about major minor pentatonics, so we will start there. Now I should have a video popping up about major minor pentatonics, and what he's doing is he's playing a C blues, and with his first finger on the 8th fret he's playing a form 1 pentatonic. And he's saying, well, this is my minor pentatonic, and he's playing a lot more flashier than me. And then he says, you know, when you go back 3 frets and put your pinky on the C, and now your first finger's on the 5th fret, you get your C major pentatonic. Now he says, and now this is major, but what he really means to say is this is the major pentatonic, when your pinky is on the root note, and then you take the same shape, and now your first finger's on the root note, and this is the minor pentatonic. So his whole lesson starts off with saying, you know, a lot of people learn that this is the C minor pentatonic, and this is the C major pentatonic. And he's right. And then he starts to talk about how to kind of split that up. So right at this moment, or 2-minute mark, he's setting you up to realize a lot of people think that the C minor pentatonic is here, and the C major pentatonic is here. And he is correct, but what he talks about coming up in a couple of seconds is how to kind of break away from that. So I'll be right back in a second with a timestamp and what he's talking about. Stay right there. All right around the 2-minute and 40-second mark, he talks about mixing major and minor, and he plays this riff. Now, I want to explain. He plays a riff. I'm not going to play as fast as him, but he goes. And what he means by this of mixing major and minor is available again in the video right about here about the hybrid blues scale, where what he's doing is he's playing a minor pentatonic, or the C minor pentatonic, but he's bringing in the major third of the chord that's being played. And the blues are playing either a C7 or a C9 or something to that effect. And the idea is that there is a major third in there. And so what he does is quite impressive. Instead of playing, he bends that minor third, and then he slides into the major third. Both those major thirds are E's. If you watch the video that was linked above, I'll explain how you can see the hybrid blues scale of being a minor pentatonic and bringing in the major third. That's exactly what John Mayer says by mixing major and minor sounds. He doesn't go from the minor pentatonic to the major pentatonic. What he's doing is staying in the minor pentatonic and really focusing on the major third of the chord. Okay, so hopefully that made sense. Watch that video like I said. We're going to move forward and see what else he's talking about. Be back in a second. All right about the 3:30 mark, he starts to get into the main lesson of, instead of playing the C minor pentatonic into the C major pentatonic, let's both play the C minor pentatonic, but let's make this 8th fret, or the tail end of form 1, the centerpiece between the form 1 and the form 5. And all he's doing is he's talking about playing in a form 1 minor pentatonic and connecting it to the shape that's behind it, which is the form 5. Now this is in my Do You Know Your 5 Forms of the Pentatonic boxes, which should be popping up sometime soon. And there are pentatonic boxes that connect together. And so what he's saying here is, you know, when you play in this one shape, there are riffs that they're built around the shape, but the same notes are located in this form 5 in different places. Here's the root note. And so here you have a root note you can hammer onto the minor third. You can't do that here. You have to play two separate notes. So he's talking about playing in the form 1, and then taking the C minor pentatonic and just starting to play some riffs in the form 5. And realizing that things play differently because the boxes aren't set up the same. And so here we have moves like, and here they play differently, they sound differently. So he's talking about discovering the joy that you can have from playing Form 1 and Form 5s and realizing the physical differences give you different sounds. Now he's playing like a C7. I'll play slowly. Again, I don't play like John Mayer. Nobody really does. You know, he's very, very talented, but I'll play it slowly. Playing a C7, you know, and he's playing a little bit here. Then he's going to go into his Form 5. Then he goes here. You watch him do this. He plays his F9 chord. Then it's back to the C7. Form 1 if you want to. Form 5. Then he does this G9. F9. So you can see him utilizing the Form 1 and then going back into the Form 5. He does this for quite a while, and it's really cool to watch him play it. He's very enthused about it, and so the idea is the Form 1 pentatonic connecting to the Form 5, and the fact that the way the notes actually physically line up on the guitar neck make you play lines differently, which gives you a little bit of a different sound. So let me keep on watching, and we'll see how it goes. Stay tuned. All right, now around the 640 mark, he says some things that I want to straighten out. Nothing bad. He's doing a great job of explaining his mind. So, you know, he says, hey, you can connect all of these minor pentatonics by reshaping the major. And what he's saying is for a long time, he always played the minor pentatonic here, and 3 frets behind it was a major pentatonic. He never really dove into the Form 5. And what he's saying by reshaping the major pentatonic is instead of playing the Form 1 based off the 5th fret pinky on the major root note, sorry, he's saying, well, you know what, I'm just going to play that Form 1 and then go into my Form 5 and forget that that was once where I played major. And then he says something interesting. Well, that can take you into the Voodoo Child box, or the Voodoo Box. And I want to explain that. What that is just a Form 4 minor pentatonic. In this case, he is in C, which would be 3-6, 3-6, 3-5, 3-5, 4-6-3-5. Again, this is in my Do You Know Your 5 pentatonic box videos. And so what he's talking about is, well, once you start playing behind the Form 1, going into the Form 5, that should get you into the Form 4, even take you down into the Form 3. Really? There it is. So you can learn how to connect them, and that's what he's doing. He's connecting the Form 1 to the Form 5 down to the Form 4, which in this lesson he'll repeatedly refer to as the Voodoo Box, the Voodoo Child box, because he likes to come in on this kind of the Form 4. And so that's what he's saying. I just want to address that. By him saying reshaping his major, he really means that he's playing the minor pentatonic where he would have played the major in the Form 5, connecting to the Form 4, down to the Form 3. You can watch him do this. All right, so I'm going to keep on watching. You stay tuned. Maybe watch the video side by side or practice what I'm saying or what he's saying. And I'll see you in a couple seconds. All right, around the 7-minute mark, he does something really cool. He's in the Form 1 minor. I'm playing slowly because he plays fast, but he can do it. He gets up to the Form 2 pentatonic, and then he says, oh, then you can go into your BB box or BB spot. And then he says, then you can kind of go down all the way. So I want to talk about that BB box. I have a video should be popping up here about the BB box. It's a really good video on how it works. And the idea is, the BB box, the root note's on the B string, and he references that the fact that the BB box is not a minor pentatonic, it's not a major pentatonic, it's its own entity, and it plays really well in the blues, and it's really cool to watch him play the C blues of a sudden go into the BB box and then come back into the minor pentatonics. And so the BB box itself, the way that John Mayer is explaining it, is that you can form all of your minor pentatonics and you can jump into your BB box. Do watch the video if you haven't seen it, and then get back into your minor pentatonic stuff. It's quite impressive to hear him do it and see him do it. And so this is a trick that you kind of want to incorporate into your blues. Kind of like that, okay? So, I'm going to keep on watching, but that was a smooth move, Mr. Mayer. Much appreciated. And let's see what else we can do. All right, be right back. All right, around 8 minutes and 40 seconds, he does a smart thing, which is, okay, let me show you it in a different place. And he does it in an A blues. And he starts on with like a kind of like... kind of like an A groove. Again, like I don't have the chops that he does, and I play with a pick, and he plays with his fingers, and he does this thumb thing, but my thumb doesn't like to do that. But the idea is that he's going to do this in A blues. So here's his A, and he comes up with this riff, and then he goes, instead of a form 1, he goes into the form 5. And then you'll see him play the same ninth chord, the D9. He sometimes goes into form 1. You're going to see him do the E9 here. So I just wanted to bring that up. You see him doing the same exact thing that he was saying in C, but in an A blues, just so you can see it work. The form 1 minor pentatonic being on the 5th fret, pulling it down to the form 5 between the 2nd and 5th fret here. Hopefully that's making sense. Let's see what else he's doing. Rock and roll. All right, around the 10-minute mark, John gets excited, or like a little after the 10-minute mark. He says, okay, let's do it in B flat. And he's talking about how when you learn the blues, you're kind of learning these blues riffs and blues licks, and you're kind of putting them in your playing. But the idea is, how do you make them your own? And really the whole idea behind this is make things your own. Bend, slide, move the ways that you want to move, or you feel like you should move, or try to make things exciting by doing different things. And he's talking about sliding in on the root note. And so he kind of like starts off in a B flat minor pentatonic on the 6th fret, form 1, and he just starts off. Again, I'm paraphrasing. And then you see him take this note here, this flat 7, slide it into the 1. And then all of a sudden you see him do the slide, but then he goes into the form 5 that he was mentioning before. He's like, and he goes, oh yeah, right. And then all of a sudden he starts. And he gets very excited. So the idea here is, what he's saying is, you have your maps, you have your minor pentatonics, you have your blues moves, but instead of trying to regurgitate them and play licks that, are muscle memory, try to influence them with a little bit of originality. And instead of like I said in the beginning, he takes his minor third. Sorry. And me, I usually, so now I'm going to take those minor thirds and the idea is just play with things that you normally play, but make them your own. And you can see him get really excited on that. Sliding on the root. And getting into getting into the form 5. My guitar setting was off. So watch that moment. Gets really cool. Let's see what else he talks about. All right, around the 12-minute mark, he does nothing crazy in terms of teaching, but he does something interesting I want to bring up. He starts jamming in a D blues, and you'll see him like... Again, I'm not playing anything fancy. Then you'll see him in the form, he'll come back into that form 5 like we've been discussing this video, and he does. And then he goes to the 5th fret, again, with that form 4 pentatonic. And he says the Voodoo Box. Again, it's cool that you see John think of this form 4 pentatonic as a voodoo child box. And his move seems to be taking that minor third here and bending it up to the major third. And it's interesting to see him do it. So when he references his voodoo child box or voodoo box, it's a form 4 pentatonic, and he really likes to take that minor third and move it to the major third. And I just wanted to bring that up. But you can watch him play around the 12-minute mark at D blues, and he's playing a form 1 pentatonic, form 5, form 4, a little bit of form 2, moving them around really well. And so my advice to you is he's playing fast, but he's moving through his pentatonic boxes, and he knows that each box gives you a little bit of variation in how things move and click together, so you're going to get different sounds. Really fun to watch him do this, and that's the point, or the moral of this little snippet here of him on that D blues. So let me see what else he's going to do. All right, so really quickly, in this time frame when John Mayer is talking about the D blues, and he's just moving around, he's playing, he's getting fancy with his right-hand rhythm, he does this move of this, and I want to explain that move, and I want everyone, including me, to steal it in their blues. He's playing the D, he's playing his pentatonics in form 1, form 5, form 2, then he gets to the 4 chord, and he all of a sudden plays this. Now the 4 chord in D blues is a G, he's playing a G9, but he takes this C-shaped G chord right here, 10, 9, 7, 8, 7, picks up his pinky, and he still has this piece of G chord, and he then comes back, and it's such a tasty move, something like this, like... I didn't really get it right there, but you understand it. I'll do it one more time. There it was, the timing of it. But that little tiny, like, oh man, is that tasty. So I'm gonna use that a lot in my blues playing. But anyway, so now listen, for the next like 10 minutes, honestly, maybe 10 to 15 minutes in this video, John does an excellent job of talking about how he sings along, that the way he practices by watching TV, thinking about things, and then when the commercial break comes and he plays. I think that everything for the next 10 to 15 minutes is spot on, doesn't really need any explanation. Now, he does play fast and he is fancy, but listen to the words he's playing, the words he's saying. That's what I'm trying to say. And so I'm going to pick it up from a little bit afterwards, and we're going to talk about some of the concepts that he gets into after his really good discussion about practicing, hearing notes, singing, listening to blues singers. That's all important stuff. He does a great job of explaining it, and let's see what he says next. All right. We are now at the 35-minute mark. We jumped a huge amount of time. 35 minutes, right before 35 minutes, John's talking about how when to start a solo, you start a little bit lower, give yourself some room so you don't just come out guns blazing in the higher position and then run out of time or room where you can't peak out. He does a great job of explaining that. Kudos. You want to follow that advice. Now, when it comes to the 35-minute mark, he's talking about hitting chord tones inside of your solo. Now up here again is going to pop a video, my blues soloing mindset. I talk about this in great detail over 12-bar blues, how to accentuate the chord changes. Now simply he starts talking about it in one of two ways, in the ways that I would talk about it. Number one, in every pentatonic there is a 1, a 4, and a 5. It's in the video above. A 1, 4, and a 5, and a 1. And you can play a C blues, and if you know when the chord change is coming, you want to start to play the note of the chord as it changed into. So listen to a 12-bar blues starting on the 1. Here's the 1. 1. 4. 1. 5. 4. And 1. And the idea is on those chord changes, you want to hit the 1s on the 1s, the 4s on the 4s, and the 5s on the 5s. And again, I know I sound like, watch my video, but watch that video because it has the map over the entire guitar neck of where 1s, 4s, and 5s are and how to do that job. And then later, a little bit later, John starts to talk about, well, not only hit the chord tones, the notes of the chords in the pentatonic, but also hit The chord tones, if you can see them, he talks about the overlap, and this is the art of guitar. This is it. I mean, I talk about this all over my channel. And so the idea is, you know, I'm going to keep it right here in the 8th fret. In a C blues, I'll have a C7 chord, I'll have an F7, or another G7. And the idea is to try and see those chord tones and incorporate them into your solo while combining them with a minor pentatonic. This note right here is not in the pentatonic, but it's in the chord. 4. Look at my pinky. Not in the pentatonic. And then back to the 1. 5. 4. 1. Now, all this stuff I'm talking about is definitely in my blues masterclasses, which are linked on every video down below, and they're on Udemy, and I talk about this stuff all the time in terms that you can understand it. But nonetheless, at the 35 mark and on, he's talking about hitting your chord tones, whether it's the root of the chord or hitting the actual notes of the chord you're on while maintaining your position in the pentatonic. If you go down to the form 5, you're going to have a whole new set of chords. And you can find them. So the idea is he's talking about playing the pentatonic, but also leading into your, or I call celebrating the changes by hitting notes either of the chord that are in the chord or also in the pentatonic, so the listener can hear those chord changes and you lead them. Not an easy thing. Once you get it, you become a really, really good guitar player and musician. I highly suggest that you do watch my Blues Primer playlist and take those master classes if the playlist really, you know, moves you. But let's see what else he says, because that type of playing is where every guitar player needs to be, where you're hitting pentatonics and chord tones, and that's what he's talking about. And I hope that made sense. All right, let's see what else he has to say. Now, at the 41-minute mark, right before the lesson ends, he says something really intriguing, and I used to do this when I was younger, and I think you should too. He says, well, I like to pick a key and a place on the scale on the neck where the strings are most elastic. And what he means by that is, you know, you have the nut and the bridge, and based upon the scale length, you know, right around like the 9th fret area, 7th fret, 9th fret area, the strings are the slackest, so it feels good to play them. And so he's saying, like, you know, sometimes just pick up the guitar and play it in a place where the strings don't fight you the most, and you're going to kind of feel inspired and feel good. I think that's excellent advice. I used to do that, and it keeps you kind of like calm and able to flow with your ideas. When you're playing down the 1st fret, the strings kind of pull and fight you back, and especially up here, they kind of give you a little bit of resistance. But around that 9th fret, 10th fret, 8th fret area, they're the most slackest, so your ideas really can be played with and toyed with. And it's not going to give you a lot of kickback. That's some good advice that I think John threw right away. All right, let's see what he finishes up with. All right, so the lesson pretty much winds down after this, and he kind of gives lots of examples of how he's going from the Form 1 to the Form 5. So if you like these ideas, again, they are presented on my Blues Primer playlist. John, if you're watching this, thank you so much. I think your lesson was excellent. I hope that you appreciate or don't mind me kind of breaking it down in a little bit more simpler terms for all of your fans to get. But thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully this made sense. And feel free to check out any of the blues lessons on my channel if you liked them, and I'm gonna go. I'll see you guys later. Thank you so much. Don't forget to share and subscribe if you liked it. I will stop talking. I'm gonna take a nap now. Bye.